going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well this evening. Thank you all so much for tuning in here. So excited here to have another one of our episodes of our weekly live streams here to talk all things current events with NC State athletics, and obviously joined by again myself, Layden Smith, Macon Adams, and Greg Pack Fan and Nova, Greg the Leg, whatever you want to call him. And so again, looking forward to getting rolling here. So make sure again, if you're tuning in with us, as always, again, send us your comments. Let us know what questions you have, thoughts you have. Again, I had a lot to kind of cover this week, so definitely looking forward to jumping into it. And obviously, too, figured we'd kind of change up a little bit as well with our background as well. For those who are listening in, we actually changed our background from the Brickyard down to the Free Expression Tunnel to give a little bit of color to the background. But again, hey, so Macon, I got to bring it to you first because obviously I think that the last time we had this live stream, it was a lot more bleak or a lot more, than it is right now. And
What do you
obviously,
mean? What do you mean? Is what I'm curious.
what do you mean by that? Well, with the men's basketball, because at the time when we had the live
Oh
stream,
yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, are we talking baseball? Or are we talking
no,
basketball? Yeah. Okay.
no,
So
yeah, basketball, yeah. What's
okay.
obviously
So
the
yeah.
additions of Jack Clark from LaSalle University, and then Jarkel Joyner from Ole Miss.
Yep.
So I mean, give us your thoughts, immediate thoughts when you first heard the news.
Yeah. I think Jarkel Joyner was the bigger get for sure. We needed some veteran presence at the point guard position, and he was a leading scorer for Ole Miss. And I don't know where he played before. Apparently, this will be NC State will be his third stop. So, but I saw a tweet somewhere that said he's been the leading scorer at both schools whenever he's been there. So, to get a guy who's a senior, he's got 1 year left to play. I think it's a really big deal, especially when you consider he was the leading scorer for a Power 5 team. I think that's a big deal. And I do think he's going to have a potential to score even more in NC State's offense. I think he can be able to play a little more freely. And then Jack Clark from LaSalle. I mean, I don't know a ton about him. I like the fact that he seems to be a guy you can, like a shooter, you can put on the perimeter and he can knock down some shots at 6'8". I mean, that's some size at the I don't know if he's a 2. I think he's more of a 3, but I think it's a good place to start for sure. I still think the biggest recruits left are still out there, and what I mean by that is Darion Sebron and Terquavian Smith. They're still out there. And have you guys seen any of the mock drafts for the NBA draft?
Not in a couple of weeks.
The one thing I do know is apparently Big T's been getting a lot of hype recently with some of his workouts, but haven't really heard much about Sebron. This again, the same hype. Not necessarily saying he's not getting hype. I'm just saying that it hasn't popped up to me, which is I'm assuming probably there's a reason for that. So, but I mean, I think I knew going into this offseason that honestly Big T would be more of the interesting prospect, honestly, than Sebron, if you had to ask me.
Yeah, I think that's debatable. What do you think? I mean, I don't disagree with you. I do not disagree. I'm just saying, I think there is a debate there. It's like, would you rather have Sebron or Smith back? What do you think, Greg?
I would rather have Smith back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I think obviously in a perfect world, we want both back, obviously, but I think that, a lot of it too depends on, again, we're expecting that we're going to have an interesting roster change this year. So like, for example, like right now we're getting Jarkel Joyner again, kind of more of the guard side, while Sebron, in a realistic world is more of your small forward kind of deal. So, I think a lot of it depends on the makeup as well. But I mean, I think that they both are electric in their own ways. Big T is a great shooter. He's a great playmaker. And the Sebron's a great, aggressive player, go to the basket, get some points. That's so it's a,
Yeah, I'm still hoping we can get one of them back. I don't know that's gonna be the case. I mean, at this point, I'm just going to assume and expect they're both gone because one, I don't want to get my hopes up, but two, I will say, I mean, if you start putting money in front of some of these guys, it's hard to say no to six figures. We went over this last week, and the weeks before then. I just think if those guys have a chance to make six figures, it's probably a yes for them to go pro. I've seen some mock drafts have Smith as a fringe first rounder this year, second round pick. I saw some have him like a late second round pick, some late first. But then Sebron, I haven't really seen on the drafts this year. So
what I was seeing for Sebron, he was like low 40s, and to your point, Smith was anywhere from 25 to 35, depending on who you subscribe to. Yeah.
So I'll be very curious to see what these guys do. I don't know if this is a transition you wanted to get into, Leighton, but I think with the announcement of the Pack of Wolves NIL program and that NC State is launching, I think State would be wise to find these guys a way to make some money. Like if you can get these guys to make five figures, like 60 grand, 50 grand, 70, 80 grand to be able to stay, particularly with, I almost wonder, like with Smith, I almost don't mind him leaving, because if he gets drafted, that's great for NC State. For Smith, it's like if he goes pro, well, he's probably not getting drafted in the NBA. He's just going to go play overseas somewhere. Then why don't you just come back? But I don't know.
What I find interesting is, towards the end of the season, there was no talk of Smith going pro or, getting a lot of hype. But then all of a sudden, as soon as the offseason began for us, it was like Smith, leapfrogged over Sebron, because it was all, when I was talking to that scout at one of the, I think it was the Clemson game, he was there looking for Sebron. He wasn't even talking Smith. So it was interesting to see how his stock has risen so quickly. Kind of under the radar, really.
Well, I was going to say it's interesting too. I'm just looking here. I usually just go to NBA draft, draftroom.com, I think is what, NBA draft room, or NBA.net, NBA.net. And a lot of times I've seen Sebron as a lottery pick for 2023. Right now, I don't even see him listed, and I wonder if that's because people just would say he's a draftable prospect this year. So, I think State needs guys in the pros and on TV. They need to see them on the roster. So my thing is, Smith's going pro. It's just a matter of when. He's going to be in the NBA. It's just a matter of when. He's going to have a chance. And I just think if he goes this year, if he gets drafted, I think that's good for State. I think as far as a perception thing, but I want him to come back. I think if he came back, State's at another level offensively. And I think it'd be even better for him. He might be making $1 million or whatever it is to go play in the late first round, early second round, or whatever. But if he's a lottery pick the next year, that's 5 or 6 times the money. Yeah. So it's a lot there for him, or more. Like you said, even more, double digits.
Yeah. I know they stagger the draft like the NFL does. So I don't keep up with it that closely for financial, but if he's a lottery, I would think it's at least, double digits in the millions. So it's just a matter of how much you want to gamble on yourself. And then there's the thing, obviously they take out insurance on themselves for injury, but what kind of dice do you want to roll on that? So he's good. To your point, making, he's going to be a pro. I think NBA is definitely where it's going to end up. I don't see him, falling to a Euro League or whatever. Worst case, he probably ends up in the G League. But just to pivot for a second, Joyner is coming. Oh, sorry, his first school, he was a road runner of Cal State.
Interesting.
So he was low level. So he was a Group of 5 school.
And because one thing I wanted to bring up as well, which is kind of one of the issues that people had when it was announced that Joyner is joining NC State, was that Ole Miss last year was 13-19 overall, and they were 4-14 in conference. And so it's like, okay, you got the leading scorer, but it's for a team that wasn't even close to 500 last year. So that's kind of one of the issues that fans kind of have. And my kind of initial kind of read to that is, at the end of the day, basketball is basketball, and at the end of the day, it can be viewed individually or as a team. And so at the end of the day, you know, if Jarkel is putting in, I think it was like 13.9, 13, 14 points a game, you know, at the end of the day, you know, he can produce that with us or with any other team, you know. So I mean, the talent's there and the scoring ability is there, and obviously too the experience is there as well, which is something that I think we definitely need is somebody with experience to come in and help us a little bit in that road. But so I
can
mean,
tell you that our
I'm
natural point
looking
guard
now.
last year didn't score 14 points.
Yeah, I'm looking now. It's got NBA Draft.net has they actually dropped him down a little bit. They have Terquavian going in next year's draft at 22, pick number 22.
Yeah, he can
In
easily
this situation,
rise.
they have him with the Utah Jazz, but I mean that totally is going to change. So,
But that's easily to jump on that.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the other thing you got to factor in with those kind of guys is injuries and all that.
Yep.
You know, if you come back, you're maybe you get injured and you don't make the money. So
Yep.
I get the argument for going now, but it's also like, man, if you just bet on yourself, you could probably make that much more. So,
yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now one thing I wanted to touch on is so you mentioned the Pack of Wolves thing, and so I'm sure that a lot of fans right now probably or listeners who are listening in are probably wondering what that is. So I mean, do you know anything more than or do you make
no, I don't think I haven't seen like a really big official announcement. Have you seen anything like that, guys?
No, I saw the tweet that I think either you or Michael put out. I saw that.
Probably Michael.
Yeah, I think it was Michael. Yeah, it was just basically, hey guys, we're standing this up. But like to your point, it was I didn't have a chance to check Twitter today, see if they've really put anything else out, but I haven't seen any official word. And I was kind of curious, is that I know this NIL stuff is very, very tricky, and I don't know how much the school can be involved with it. Is this affiliated with the school, or is this some random person going, hey, we want to stand up this kind of, I hate to use the word nonprofit, but you know, something like that?
So one thing which I want to go ahead and clarify, real quick though for the listeners though, is so basically there's a Twitter page out there, I think called Pack of Wolves or something like that, that's just starting, and basically like Pack Pride and Inside Pack Sports and all these guys are kind of promoting it right now. And basically what it seems that basically there's going to be this kind of fundraiser club, somewhat of a deal. Basically every year people can donate money to it, and basically it goes towards NIL deals for athletes within NC State. And so the one thing which I do want to say is that the fact to me that Corey Smith and Pack Pride and all these guys are promoting it publicly on Twitter tells me that, because again, I know that, you know, obviously with Pack Pride, they and Inside Pack Sports, these guys have close relationships with the university. And so to me, it's like, if they're pushing it, it's got to be some kind of obviously university approved. It's got to be. So the university's involved to an extent, no doubt about it. I could almost say with a certainty, there's no way it's just some Joe Schmo saying, hey, you know, everybody just send me a bunch of money and I'm going to send, you know, the money out to, you know, Darian Sebron and Big T and all that. Like, no, I think but again, it's so weird that it's first of all, the name of it, but it just, it's odd.
Yeah.
So
well, you got to think States had in July of last year announced the Alpha NIL.
Yeah.
And what I'm curious about is how this is different. So I don't know if it's geared towards. I think it's more of a conglomerate. It's like a network. People can join. Companies can join in for their own investments with players. You know, I think the NIL is more strictly the university. But I haven't seen an official announcement on that though.
I know I don't want to necessarily plug anyone, but I mean, I will mention it just because it's newsworthy. The company Gopher out there, they're very big in the NIL. You know, they have like half the football team, I think, pretty much all the starters. They've got them partnered up with. So I know they're really, really involved in that. So that's a really big one that's public out there. I'm sure there's obviously there's Medios and Bojangles and a couple of other ones that have announced deals with individual players, but I think
even Inside Pack Sports, I saw a picture.
That's right.
Actually, was sponsored by Inside Pack Sports. I thought that was really cool. So,
yep.
We don't have that kind of money yet, folks. But you know, if we did, we'd for sure be on that, but we definitely don't have the money yet.
We're just at the level of donating a golf hole and a table at a casino night. So that's
Yeah, exactly.
that's where our money's at.
That's all we're at. But real quick too, I want to give a shout out to Major Wolf. Says, "What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in, Major." And then name cannot be blank. Says, "Go Pack." Well, go Pack as always.
It's a great name. Really unique.
Yeah, name
Yeah.
cannot be blank.
Insert
I
name
love
here.
it.
Yeah.
So, and one thing too, I wanted to kind of bring up as well, because I want to talk about the NFL draft coming up here starting Thursday, and then I want to talk about Pac-9 as well. But before we get into that, one of the things I wanted to bring up. So last year, I can't remember when. I would assume that by this time, probably last year, we knew that Hubert Davis was going to be the head coach of the Carolina Tar Heels, and we had said that basically, I mean, it's a huge risk. Obviously, there's a huge high risk, high reward because I mean, if it fails, then because we all saw it, that it could fail because he's never been a head coach before, and it was basically somebody that Roy Williams said, "I want you to hire this guy," and they did. And so we were all like, really? Like UNC could hire anybody, and they hired somebody with no head coaching experience. And then, here we are. UNC came out of nowhere, made it to the national championship game, and now, worst of the worst, every single player is back, pretty
Run it
much.
back.
And I know that there were some seniors that left and all that jazz, but all the main guys: R.J.
Yeah.
Davis,
Except for
Caleb
one.
Love, Armando Baycott, and Leaky Black.
Yeah, Leahy's
Yeah.
back. The only one they lost was
So-
the graduate transfer.
Yeah. Oh, Brady Manick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So, but I mean, but main four pieces are all coming back, and so they actually don't have a single scholarship available right now. And then in the meantime, everybody like us last week before Jarkel and Jack committed, when we had probably 6 scholarships, scholarship players on roster right now, and it's like,
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess I want to kind of ask you guys, and I want to ask you guys in the chat as well. Let us know what you think. But is this a worst case scenario for all the GTHC, people out there? I mean, or is it
Well, see, my thing is, I don't think it's an assumption. I think it's not an assumption that they're going to go back to the national title game. I mean, or anything like that. They could very well lose in the first round. They could very well not even make the tournament because of maybe a health stuff. I think they're certainly good enough, and they're going to have the chemistry, and they're going to be preseason. One of the preseason favorites, but they're going to be in the discussion. They'll be in the discussion. So, I'm not worried about that just yet. Personally, I'm so worried about NC State basketball where we're at that I don't even really care about them. So
I know.
But I'm not worried about it. It's just kind of like, okay, cool. That is, I will say I can appreciate it because when was the last time you saw everybody come back on a basketball team for the most part? I mean, it's just
not in today's age.
No. So I mean, to me, I think it goes back in. I know we don't like Carolina, but I am a Hubert Davis fan of the person he is. I think guys just love him, and I think it's a big part of it. I think they want to run it back. They love their coach. They love their school. I had to throw up in my mouth even saying that, but it's just I think it's part of it. So
oh, sorry. I thought
you're good. You're good.
No, I was just gonna say, look, I don't want to talk well of UNC, so I'll pivot and say it's very similar to what we're doing in football. You can kind of make the parallel comparison that you think you've got it. I mean, you've got all the pieces. Obviously UNC needs 1 or 2 probably pieces to close the puzzle, but it's like our football team. Everyone's like, this is it. We're putting all our eggs in the basket. We're going all in. Poker turn, putting all the chips into the table, and let's see where they end up at the end of the season. So. I think that's that's their mentality. Good on them in today's age, like you were saying, Macon. It just doesn't happen. You don't see a lot of kids team first. It's all about me and social media and getting paid and my brand and whatever. So as much as it pains me to say, I got respect for it, and that tells you, like you were saying about the coach. I think that the family atmosphere that Hubert is running there, that people like, okay, I'm willing to forgo X amount of dollars, or who knows, maybe they're getting NIL dollars. I'm sure that's the fact. I read I read that I think it was Ryan Williams was like they're putting all their money in basketball on the NIL deals, and football is kind of going to the wayside. So in today's age, I think that's what you have to do is you colleges need to pick a sport and kind of go all in, like Clemson with football and Vandy with baseball, and I think that's where you figure it out at, and that's where you go make your money.
Absolutely. And Daniel Neal tuned in, said, go Pack, excited to listen tonight. Appreciate you tuning in, Daniel. Always a pleasure. And Major Wolf said he thought it's not yet in terms of being worst case scenario for the GTHC fans out there. But you bring up football, and I wanted to actually, that reminded me of a video I was watching today by it was on YouTube by Josh Pate, I think is his name. Josh Pate.
Yeah,
Tate,
the 247.
Yeah. 247 guy.
Oh yeah, you're talking about.
And so basically he was asked the question of if Clemson falls off as kind of like the go-to favorite every year. Yeah. If so that would be like if they slip and last year's not just an anomaly, like maybe they're not really the every year dominant team, who could be that team that steps in? And so they brought up, first name he said was Miami, because Miami has a name, they can bring in the talent. Obviously they have a coach, Mario Cristobal, who still hasn't really done much, but he could be a guy that could do a lot. So that was first name. And then they brought up even Pitt, actually, which I thought was interesting. And then they brought up UNC, which, I roll, whatever. But then he said NC State, and he said, but in order for State to be in that conversation, they have to take advantage of a season where they take the next step, where they win a championship, where they, compete in a BCS bowl game, something like that, to really kind of get all those kind of negative narratives about, having a, conference, championship drought and, not being able to get the big games won, things like that out of the way. But the first thing which I said actually when that happened was, well, what the heck has Carolina done? Like, why don't you have that same issue with UNC? Like UNC, I mean, shoot, I mean, they had that season last year and they did zero with it. I mean, they were projected, a top 10 team, number 9 in the country preseason, and they went basically they went 6 and 7. So I just don't understand, but again, I get it. And he kept saying, like, I'm trying to, drum up excitement for NC State because they definitely deserve it. So
you don't need to drum it up. We got it. Like, we're
excited.
Like,
but I mean, but he even brought up saying like the NC State fans want to be the underdog, and we don't want to be the favorite. We want to be the underdog. So, but that was just the first thing that came to mind. I was like, but again, why aren't you bringing that same issue up with UNC? Because they haven't done jack squat in years. So, I want to get y'all's thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, to me, I think State fans are going to need to start embracing the idea of being the hunted. And that's what we should want, guys. Like, we've never, it's almost like this, I don't know what to do with my hands kind of thing. It's like, I don't know what to do with myself. It's like, we have to get there, guys. If you want to be where Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Michigan, where they are, you're going to have to embrace that mentality. And you gotta want it, because it's like, all right, everybody's gonna give us our best every night, and if we can beat them, that means we're clearly the better team. To be the man, you got to beat the man. So I don't know. I'm so excited about this football season.
Preach.
I just hope everybody is so ready to be there. I hope everybody stays healthy. Knock on wood. I mean, but yeah, we have to have that mentality.
Well, and because like one thing that came out today, which is again Big Game Boomer, which I mean for anybody who's on Twitter knows who that guy is. Posted a top 25, his top 25 post spring ball, and he had Alabama number 1, Ohio State number 2, Utah number 3, NC State number 4, and then Georgia 5, Michigan State 6, Wake Forest 7. And when I saw that, I literally quote tweeted and did a spit take, but that was literally my reaction. Like, if I had something in my mouth, I was like literally, that's what I would have done. Like, holy crap, NC State 4, which I mean anybody who's putting NC State 4 is
ahead of
crazy.
Georgia.
Yeah, that's
of
a little
Georgia.
too much.
I mean, it's a
go ahead.
fan account too. Just
Yeah.
keep that in mind. It's just
Well,
a fan account, but
Well,
a lot of
again,
people retweet them, and it's a lot of publicity. However you want to look at it on Twitter. So
Yeah, he's a popular, or he or she. is a
somebody
popular-
out there that's got no
He is.
affiliation to NC State believes in
Yeah.
NC State.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I did like how on the ESPN the way too early top 25, they had us at 7, and I thought that was a good number. I thought anywhere from I was thinking 8 to 10. 7's not really a stretch for me, because that's right near that range.
Which is crazy.
Um,
That is insane to think about.
But if you look at what we did last year, we were what 3 points away from an ACC championship game, 4 points away. What was it?
yeah, 4 points.
4 points
1
away.
point
Yes,
loss, 1 point loss, 2 point loss.
Yep. So we were literally 4 points away from an ACC championship game. If we make one more play in any of those games, we're probably in the ACC championship game, and then that just springboards you into this season. So it's not. When I was talking to some guys at work today, and I was like, watch out, like, oh, you're a homer. I'm like, no, like I'm not even being a homer in this instance. And I was like, Devin Leary, dark horse candidate for Heisman. Like, everyone's laughing at me. I'm like, it's not inconceivable, Again,
No.
like you said, everyone has to stay healthy.
Yeah.
The chips still got to fall right, and you're gonna need a couple breaks and luck here, but it's not unfathomable to think about it. It's just not.
Well,
like, you need to get on board with it, and you need to get excited. And if you want the respect, and you were like, well, we're undervalued, then we need to go out and win, and then you need to back this team and not be scared of anybody. And I don't, and obviously the players are not feeling that way. It's the fans.
Right.
And now the fans need to come around.
Well, and I want to clarify too that when I say it's insanity, I'm not saying it's insanity because I don't think we don't deserve to be there. We absolutely deserve to be at least in top 15, at least, if not definitely top 10. But it's just insanity to think in my head, like, holy crap. Like, literally, my first year being a football equipment manager, I was on the 2013 team where we barely beat Richmond on a field goal. We were like storming the field goal. Oh my God, we beat Richmond. And then here we are 9 years later, somebody put us ahead of Georgia. That is insane. Like, and so again,
the fact that it's even to me, I don't think we should be like, okay, guys, you just need to accept the fact that we're going to be really, really good, potentially college football playoff. We're not saying that, but we're saying like, guys, we're we're in probably arguably one of the healthiest places this program's ever been in. And the fact that there's somebody objectively, there's probably multiple people out there that at least probably maybe the minority, but even the fact that there's a minority that think that NC State could have a better season than Georgia or Michigan or Texas, or well, I mean not Texas, but my whole thing is you were good.
You were good until Texas.
Yeah, I mean, my point is though, it's like that's crazy to think. Penn State,
blue bloods, right? If you want to talk
Oregon,
about blue bloods,
everybody
Oklahoma,
loves Oregon. So
Oklahoma,
Oklahoma, Clemson. I mean, there's people out there who think that NC State's going to be better than all those schools I just said. So
that's crazy.
It's just to me. We need to pay Doran, we need to pay Thunder Dan, we need to pay all these guys.
Yep.
And as I say that, if we just totally choke this season away, I want to say just fire him. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But you're not wrong though, Macon, when you say that, because this is arguably the biggest season since we won the ACC back in 1979. Like, this is the season that we could have had we beat Clemson the year that we missed the field goal.
And it doesn't feel like just like superficial hype either, because there's some seasons where like, oh guys, this is going to be our year. I don't hear a lot of fans saying this is going to be our year. And I think it's because when we say this is going to be our year, it's more like you're reaching for it. And this year, it's almost like, I hear more fans saying like, no, like State's going to be good. It's almost like this, it's sunk in, like this is going to be a really good team. And it's so.
And we're bringing back a lot of all ACC caliber players. We're talking first team, second team. Even Isaiah Moore, who tore his ACL in like the 7th or so 8th game of the season, he got honorable mention. I mean, that's how good, Tanner Engel, Peyton, Devin Leary. We're going to be good, people. Get Get in Carter Finley. Get all your tickets if
And-
you ain't got them, because this is going to be a special.
Yeah,
season.
if you were waiting to buy season tickets, this is the year. Or
Yeah,
a mini
okay.
pack of tickets. This is the year. Do it. You've been saving
Yeah.
for years, not getting it. Just go get it this year.
Yeah,
The schedule's
because
gonna be fun. So
And because the one other thing I want to say, if you're not sold already, one thing I want to sell you on is that really at the end of the day, any team starts with the top. What do your main guys do? And not only your best players, but your leaders. Well, I can tell you on the offensive side that you have coming back your leader, one of your best players in Devin Leary, who broke Phillip Rivers' passing touchdowns record last year. Which I mean, I don't know if you guys heard the name Phillip Rivers, but that's a pretty big
He's pretty
record to
good.
break. Yeah,
He just
pretty
got
good.
he just got inducted in the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame. That's how good he was.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the defensive side, you're literally bringing back a guy who was preseason defensive player of the year. He got knocked out from a shoulder injury. The backup jumped in and was in the conversation for defensive player of the year. He got knocked
Right.
out. The third player jumped in, was in the talk,
And they're
for
all
defensive
coming
player of the year.
back. I mean, I don't know. I just
Literally-
think, you know what? Honestly, I think everybody's forgotten about Peyton Wilson.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and again,
really
everybody-
think they have. I think Isaiah Moore, people kind of know Isaiah Moore, but I just think they just have forgotten how great. Like I remember a few weeks ago, I think it was months ago at this point, I got in an argument with somebody on Twitter briefly about like, do you guys like who it was? I think it was a Carolina loser, but it was like, you realize that Peyton Wilson had 108 tackles that one season.
Yeah, year before. Yeah.
108 tackles. Like,
And it's in a
I'm
12-game
not
season.
blowing smoke or anything. It's like, it's pretty crazy.
In a 12-game
Right.
season, not a 16-game NFL season, a 12-game college football season. And oh, by the way, we ain't even talked about Drake Thomas.
well, that's what I mean.
Like-
Yeah, literally, that's what I'm saying. Literally, the
Yeah.
third best linebacker we have this
Was all
year and had
ACC.
last
Devin
year.
Betty ain't bad.
No,
Oh,
he was
absolutely not.
great
That's what I mean.
stepping in for both those guys.
Jalen Scott ain't bad.
So,
Tanner Ingle was
so
on the
that's-
first team,
Yeah.
and then
I'm just talking
and then-
linebacker, but yeah.
no, I
yeah.
know, yeah, but I mean, but
But I'm
there's
just saying,
I mean, every
those are the
level,
leaders.
we're gonna have all ACC. It wouldn't surprise me if like Shaheem Battle is a first or second team all ACC
sure.
this year. It just wouldn't
I
wouldn't
expect
surprise
that.
me. Yeah, I really
I
think
expect
we're gonna have at least one player at every level on the defense with the first team all ACC, and then you have
Tanner
potentially an
Ingles,
all ACC kicker, and then you have, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be good. I'm telling you, any new season ticket holders, I will send you a personal autograph picture of me on the stretcher, and we need everybody in the
Yes.
stands this year. We need
we do.
everybody.
I want to see a sold out game for UConn. Okay, Charleston
Yeah.
Southern.
Yeah,
I'm kind of halfway kidding. I would totally get it, but
Well,
guys,
I mean,
as
hey,
long as it's
this
as long
is
as
the
it's
year
not
to
95
buy
degrees.
tickets. This is
Yeah.
the year to buy tickets.
Yeah.
If you've been
absolutely.
saying it off, I want something to cheer for. Okay,
now you do.
If it's
Holy
not
smokes,
this year,
you do.
you'll never go buy tickets.
That's it.
So
That's it.
Yeah.
But
So Major Wolf also too brings up, nobody talks about how if we beat Miami in the Hawkman season, then we are likely in the Orange Bowl. So what was that, 2020? Yeah,
2020,
beating
cool.
Derek King. Yeah, I mean, we're in
We
that
probably are.
conversation. Yeah, you're probably in that conversation. You're not wrong.
Mhm.
So, but again, that's why, again, to kind of wrap up kind of the hype, it all comes back to Dave Doran, folks. Dave Doran, as much
Quietly
crap
been
as
doing
we
his
gave
thing.
him, as many times as we were that close to firing him, holy smokes, has he paid dues. That's all I'm going to
Yeah,
say
if,
on
if
that.
he doesn't beat Carolina that year at Chapel Hill,
If he
he's
doesn't
he's
beat Notre
gone.
Dame, if he doesn't beat
Yep.
Notre Dame in the Hurricane game, he probably would have gotten
Yep.
fired then as well. So yeah, no, it's crazy to talk about. And then here we are. So what? Days, so we're 3 days away from what could be also too a huge day for NC State football. And for those who don't know, which
I was
I mean,
hoping
if
you were
you
gonna
don't
get
know,
there.
then you're living under a rock. But so Ikem Ekwonu, Icky, is projected to easily be basically where all of the mock drafts I've seen him has either number 1 overall to Jacksonville or number 3 overall to the Texans. Basically, it's one or the other. And
the lowest I've seen him
but-
is 5 to Carolina.
no, Carolina
Yeah.
6.
6.
Carolina
I'm sorry.
six.
Yeah, 6. That's the
But
lowest
you're
I've
right.
seen him.
Like it's like he's not getting past 6 or
Unless
7.
something
yeah,
absurd
which is
happens.
crazy. Which is crazy.
And I was just looking while we're talking about this because I was curious. It's been a few weeks since I've even looked to see And Matt Miller, he's a like a blue check mark NFL draft scout guy. And there's a few people on Twitter that have been talking about that as of about 10 hours ago. So what was that? 10 o'clock this morning. There was some belief from inside NFL scouts and some organizations that Ekwani will go number one. So, but that could be just like I was just
There's a
tweets
lot of
reading.
smoke and mirrors right now.
Yeah, I mean that's what the draft is all about. It's
Yep.
it's totally you don't know what we're gonna do and throws everybody else off. But
but just be mentioned like you're saying.
the fact that he's even there, I mean, oh man, I will be so pumped if he goes number one.
But you know, if he goes number one, though, here's the crazy thing: we would be the only school in the ACC that's ever had 2 number 1 draft picks.
Yep. And how many in the NCAA have done that?
Yeah, we would be, I think, like the 8th program. I think is what I saw. Because I saw something the other day. I think there was like maybe 5. I know it's between 5 and 8 schools that have had multiple number 1s. It's not as big a list as you might think. Yeah, I saw it. It was on CFB, Fox CFB. I think was the Twitter page I saw it on the other day.
Because just to clarify, we ACC itself has only had 2 number 1 overall picks, and that's Mario Williams and Jameis Winston. Am I correct on that?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. So I mean, because like one thing I want to mention.
Oh no. Sorry, 3 now. Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
No. So here's the schools that have had multiple number 1 overall picks. I'm gonna count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17. Now this is going all the way back to this is number 1 overall picks. NFL and mind draft. You, this goes back in NFL draft. So that's one thing. So like first, like Tennessee's got one on here from 1940.
Yeah.
Georgia's got one on here from 2 on here, 3 on here, 1943, 45, and 1953. The last pick, probably the only pick, probably in the NFL. When did the NFL start? What year was it? Do you guys know?
Oh, it's been around 100 years or 75 years, right? 80 years, because the Super Bowl is not the NFL has been longer than the Super Bowl, and I think
for sure
the NFL is in fact 100. Remember they just celebrated the 100-year anniversary 2 years ago.
So then it is legit. So they have been drafted number 1 overall, 1920. So sense. Yeah, there's actually a good list of them, but you're right. At least in the ACC,
should only be 3.
Well, I will say Miami and Virginia Tech.
Yeah, but that was pre-ACC.
That's a good point.
That's true.
A good point.
I like it.
Yeah, because Virginia Tech was 85 in 2001, and Miami was 87 and 91.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Major Wolf was saying Roman Gabriel actually was the number 1 draft pick, but it was AFL. So, and I think he was like a top 10, maybe top 5, but just to answer Major Wolf there.
Yeah, and because one thing I want to point out as well is that when you think of like number 1 overall draft picks, I would be curious how many times an offensive lineman has gotten drafted number 1 overall. I feel like that's a very rare thing to see an offensive lineman get drafted number 1 overall.
Yeah, I do remember. I want to say, if I'm just going to guess here, 5 times.
Yeah,
I know it happened not too long ago. I think like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I'm trying to remember who it was.
I will say this. I think to Icky's credit, and this is not a shot at Icky, but I think it's worth being fair about it. I think in part that I'm trying to see the last time somebody was drafted, it was a tackle, Eric Fisher, 2013.
Yeah, that's the one I was
Central
thinking.
Michigan to the Chiefs. Then before that, it was Jake Long out of Michigan to the Dolphins, and then Orlando Pace to the Rams.
The Rams. Yeah, so only 3 times. All right, so I said 5, so that wasn't horrible.
Well, hold on, I'm not done. But
you're probably going back further.
Ron Yeri, the 1968 to the Vikings.
Who can't forget Ron Yeri?
Yeri,
the great Ron Yeri.
Yeah, and then so I think it's let's see,
am I gonna get 5? That's 4.
There's Chuck Bednarik.
I had him.
I knew
Eagles, it. And Kai Aldritz in 1939 to the Chicago Cardinals. Come on, guys.
The Cardinals,
I know that.
Yeah, so I like about 6 or 7 times. So not very often. So that, just to, again, be mentioned in that company is pretty amazing.
You learn
Yeah.
something when you watch these, when you come to the live
right.
streams, guys. You learn
That's
stuff.
right.
Yeah.
You also see us be idiots.
No, you're
But
not wrong there
no,
either.
it's a pretty elite company. And I was gonna say was I think to kind of take a note on Icky, I think this is a weaker draft class. So
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
talent level, I think in other classes he would still be elite, but I
Yeah.
think he wouldn't be not as much. I don't know. I would imagine he would maybe not be. If we had like just a dominant quarterback this class, I think he'd be number one overall.
Of course. Yeah, of
So,
course.
you're really competing with Aiden
Well-
Hutchinson at defense end in Michigan. You're competing with.
The only reason why I would say that the quarterback wouldn't go number one overall is because it's Jacksonville, which I would assume Jacksonville would not be interested in a quarterback. I would
right.
assume.
Right, but
What I don't
it's
get
not
is
but it's not uncommon for them to trade out of that position and get draft stock.
True.
So I mean,
Have you
Sure.
guys heard any? And I'm getting off here. Have you guys heard? I don't understand the Trayvon Walker linebacker out of Georgia hype that's exploded the last
he's
couple weeks.
exploded. They're talking about it was rumoring him to be number one. Like,
That I'm like,
that where
no
you're going?
way.
Is that where you're going with
no
this?
way. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I haven't watched, but like, I have not heard anybody talk about him.
3 weeks ago, he was mocked to the Bucks like at 27 or 28. I
Yeah,
don't remember where we drafted.
Yeah, there's no
but
way. There's no
he's
way.
jumped
Yeah.
a lot. Again,
Well-
who knows how much of this is real and smoke and mirrors and just trying to fake other people out and try people jump back. It's insane. Like, yeah, I enjoy it just for the strategery of the draft, like all the craziness and all the.
I like the
hype and
discussion
about it.
between the debate between who would you want to be your franchise tackle, Ekwonu, Neal, or Cross. That's been the most interesting discussion to me in this draft because those are all guys who may go in the first 10 picks, 15 picks.
So Neal's been getting the most hype because he's an SEC guy. You know,
He's
and, like, the
Alabama
level-
guy. I
right?
mean-
Exactly. So, so that's where everyone's putting it. But the smart folks are saying Icky is the guy. Like, don't sleep on Icky. I mean,
Yeah.
he's an ACC. It's not the caliber of the SEC.
Sure.
His pass blocking isn't as strong maybe as it should be. He didn't give up maybe what he give up 1 or 2 sacks. Like he didn't give up that many sacks. So and he's just
maybe
dominant.
one.
I think he gave up 1 or 2.
Maybe
It wasn't
one.
many.
But
And then he's just so dominant of a run blocker. I mean, like Aunt Jemima ran out of syrup because of him. Like all
He
the
kept them in
pancake
business.
blocks.
He kept them in business, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
The low
Yeah.
stock supply, the supply chain issues is because of Icky's pancake blocks.
But yeah, no,
Yeah, no
I see
kidding.
that or I like personally, I like Icky and Charles Cross more than I like Evan Neal. But
Yeah.
that's
Really?
because I think Evan Neal's a little Evan Neal looks a little not as athletic as Icky and Cross, but that's just me. So
Plus,
Well-
who else played Pagu in 101 Dalmatians? Like, no one played it better than Icky. Like,
you're talking about him being in the plays when he was younger.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Well,
I
one
just see
other
Neil do that.
Right, no kidding. Well, and one other point too, which I want to make in terms of how weak this draft class is that I was also listening to Colin Cowherd this morning while I was eating breakfast, and one of the things that one of his NFL scouts, was telling him was that Kenny Pickett, he's projected to be a consensus first round draft pick this year, but he said honestly he probably would get a third round grade in a typical draft.
Yeah.
And,
Which I
Yeah,
find
I
is
was like-
absurd because his hands are too small. Like, give me a
So are
break.
Joe Burrows. Remember that old
Yeah,
discussion?
right.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
I think it's
But-
like, did we not learn our lesson? I mean, I get Joe Burrow. The odds of him being a Joe Burrow is not as
Sure.
high.
Yeah.
It's but it's like we just had this issue like 2 years ago, guys.
Have
It's
we
that
not
long
learned?
ago.
Have we not learned
Right.
from our mistakes?
Well,
I
again,
mean-
because I'm saying that because I'm not necessarily saying that I agree that Kenny Pickett is a third rounder,
No,
but I'm saying
I
that
don't-
basically there's experts saying that if you were to look at him in terms of value, they would value him as a third rounder, but yet he is consensus going to be drafted this year as probably the second or third quarterback off the board. So, but yeah, but again, honestly, that's what makes me so excited though about watching this draft, because obviously see where Icky goes, but also too because I think it's going to be one of those drafts where it's not going to be like, okay, this guy's going to go here and then this guy's going to go here. It's like, no, I mean, every team could go 100 different ways. Shoot, the Carolina Panthers could screw it up once again and pick a cornerback or something like that, or running back, or some craziness. So who knows? But yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
So who else are we? So all right. So if we're gonna talk draft real quick,
Yeah,
we'll
let's do
finish
it.
up. Where do you guys think Bam and Ricky go?
And
Do you
Emeka.
think they get drafted? And Emeka, right? And then Daniel Joseph.
And the punter, I can't remember.
Oh, Trent Gill.
Yeah, Trent Gill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you go ahead.
Zonathan's Zonathan's been getting Jonathan's been getting some hype recently, specifically coming out of his pro day.
Yeah, he did better.
And then Emeka, it's kind of funny. I think honestly, it's funny to me how literally coming out of the pro day, people talk the most out of Devin Leary over any other and over any prospect we had there. Honestly,
Yeah.
But yes, no, Devin Leary's not going to the draft this year, folks. Don't worry. So, I mean, I see as Bam, Emeka being like fifth. I see Emeka being like a fourth, fifth rounder, and then I see Bam going like maybe fifth or sixth round.
Yeah,
conservatively. But I mean, again, the draft is it's craziness, especially in the late rounds. So
I wouldn't be surprised if Ricky doesn't get drafted. Unfortunately,
I don't think Ricky gets drafted.
I don't think he does either. I think Bam's gonna go. See the thing, Kelvin Harmon went what, 7th round, 6th round?
Yeah, 7th. He went 7th.
And he sat out for the bowl game.
I kind of think these guys are going to be like, to be honest, I think they're going to be like no higher than 5th round.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I could see Daniel Joseph maybe sneaking in the 4th or 5th.
Really?
I'm trying to look up here.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing too. I think he's already got a contract to the CFL if he doesn't get drafted to the NFL because he's Canadian. He's Canadian, so he already had that on the table. But yeah, I could see him. I didn't see how he graded out, but just raw talent. I thought he was one. He was our best defensive end last year without a doubt. So I don't know. Again, I haven't studied every position of the draft, so it just depends on. Like you said, there's just so many variables, like, who's high on who, taking best available player, scheme-wise. There's just so much out there to try to really figure it out, and I'm glad I don't get paid to do it.
Well, the tough thing for Emeka this year is that, honestly, I think that wide receiver is probably the most stacked position in this draft. And so I think that's really, unfortunately, what's going to kind of hurt Emeka. I mean, like, I think like literally like the number 1, number 2 wide receivers are both from Ohio State, which is, kind of, again, just proves the point that literally that CJ Stroud should not have even been in the Heisman conversation. He had 2 ridiculous wide receivers. So anyway, but
do you think Calvin? Do you think Calvin and Emeka are the same receiver? Like, I feel like they're the same. Like they're almost identical.
Calvin who?
Calvin Harmon. Yeah.
Johnson?
Yeah, Kelvin Johnson. Harmon.
Calvin Harmon.
Kelvin Harmon.
I thought you said Calvin.
I think I said Calvin, but I meant Kelvin. Sorry, Kelvin Harmon. Do you think they're the same receiver?
No, I don't think so.
You think who would you take over who?
I would take Kelvin.
I would take Kelvin.
I think he's got the more athletic. He's got the more athletic profile.
Yeah,
and Kelvin could be a possession receiver, but I just think he's more dynamic in the air, catching the ball and plucking it out of the air.
You're different because Kelvin is the big play guy.
Different.
He's the guy. If you need a play, if you need a guy to go get the ball, he'll go get it. But if you need a guy who, like, he's going to catch the ball 9.5 times out of 10, Emeka is going to be your guy. But he's not going to be the guy.
I was going to say, so Jacoby and
Jacoby Myers.
I would say would you compare Jacoby to Emeka? That's what I would say.
Yes, I would say.
And Jacoby has made a living as a possession receiver. So
correct.
It just takes the right situation.
Yep, right system. I mean, it's all. It's with all these guys.
I would even almost want. This kind of suck. I would just like to see here's next. This is I don't know. I'm just throwing something out. I don't know why this came up. If the Jets picked Emeka, that would be a good situation for him because they don't have a clear cut receiver. They just don't. So I mean, or the Texans, or
right.
Seattle right now. I mean,
where he's got a legitimate shot to make the team is what you're saying.
I mean, it's like Jacoby went to the. I mean, heck, go to the Patriots. Go to the Patriots. I mean, I mean, that would be just like Bill Belichick. So I mean, it doesn't need to be. I don't know. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see who he goes up with.
Well,
Yeah.
I find
I just wanted to
Nick's
throw that out there.
I find Nick's so Nick Potter said that he's pretty sure that Bam will be around the 6th, Emeka Messi will be around the 7th, and everyone else goes undrafted. And the one thing which I want to throw in there as well is that I mean it's a rarity that you see special team members get drafted in the 7th rounds. Most all of them get signed as free agents. So I mean, Trenton Gill, as amazing as he is, you know, he's not a Roberto Aguayo where the Buccaneers draft him and like
Now
Shut
that
it.
punter,
Shut it.
who's that punter that is out there at San Diego State or whatever his name is?
Oh
Ariaza,
he bombed
whatever.
the balls.
Yeah.
That dude
Yeah.
will get drafted. That dude's gonna get drafted.
Yeah, I agree. But look at
Oh,
AJ
yes.
Cole. He was a Pro Bowler. I think he was AP All Pro if I'm not mistaken. Undrafted at the punting. So like you just go.
You can make a career.
Yeah, and the nice thing about that is he at that point he can go choose where he wants to go and have a better chance to compete. So like AJ did, because AJ went in undrafted and knocked out the incumbent at the then Los Angeles Raiders.
Yeah. So since we're running close on time, just as a reminder again, first round Thursday night. I can't remember exactly what the time is, but just tune in for it. Do not miss it. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, it's either 7:30 or 8. But don't miss out on that. Again, hopefully it should be huge. It'll be a huge night either way. Whether Icky goes 1, 5, or 6, which those are pretty much the 3 spots they'll probably go. It's going to be huge.
I haven't been this excited about a draft in a while. Partly because of mostly because of Icky, but then too, I mean, I'm a Panthers fan, so I'm they got a high pick. So
well,
they're garbage. They're garbage.
They're going to get offensive linemen.
I already know they're going to screw. If they don't draft the offensive lineman, they're going to screw it up. But I will say, what's his face? The GM Fitterer. I do like his ability to draft. Like he has traded back a lot and gets a lot of picks. So I do like that.
Yeah.
Can't make
okay.
So
Pack 9. Got about 10 minutes.
Lane's like, shut your mouth, Megan.
I love you.
It's usually me, so I'm glad it's you this time.
No, it's all good. Well, I just want to make sure we touch on, because I know this is a big topic that I really wanted to make sure we touched on, and obviously not the happiest of topics, but you know, it's a topic I wanted to talk about because I think that a lot of State fans, including myself, when we lost the series yesterday, I think a lot of State fans went was like, what the heck? Like, you know, we blew it. You know, we stink. We had
all
it.
of them.
We should have won it, and blah blah. And I mean, and you're true. You're right. I mean, we had multiple times. I mean, like literally the first inning yesterday scored 5 runs, and then the next inning Louisville scores 4. So again, but the one thing which I do want to remind fans about it as well is that at the end of the day, we said going into the season that even though the ceiling is there, that we could get for sure back to the College World Series, realistically, we were replacing a lot of people in the bullpen and 7 starters on the batting side. And obviously
we're not out of it.
Plus defense.
We're not out of it.
But we're not the best team right in the ACC right now.
Well, but just right now, I think honestly, unfortunately, the thing that's holding us back is, first of all, Highfield's not playing, which again, nothing official has come out about that. But at the end of the day, he's not playing right now. And whenever any team loses their ace pitcher, you're going to struggle, especially against a team like Louisville, who averages over 9 runs a game. So keep that in mind. But also,
we definitely helped that average too.
Well, yeah. But also too as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they scored a lot. They scored a lot for sure.
They scored a lot. Even the game we won, they scored 10.
But the second thing I would say as well is that I think that honestly, you know, looking at the bullpen, is that besides Villaman and besides Highfield, obviously, I think we have a lot of good pitchers. We don't have really many great pitchers, you know, right now. Now they're young. Now, that's one thing I want to keep in mind as well. A lot of these guys are freshmen and sophomores. You know, a lot of them are young pitchers. So, you know, so it's a building step right now. So, but again, we're not out of it by any means. I think at the end of the day, you know, we're still right below kind of that hosting conversation. So, I mean, we're not out of it yet. And obviously we got series against Duke, Carolina, Wake Forest. I think our 3 series left. And we got ECU coming up tomorrow night. So again, there's a lot of opportunities still on the table to get a solid 2 seed. And, you know, hey, let's go see if we can make some noise at the regionals. And, you know, hey, if we kill it and if we can go and do some great stuff at the ACC tournament, then hey, you never know. I mean, obviously Tommy White, oh my God, like that dude's ridiculous. But
ACC Player of the Year, maybe.
yeah, as a freshman, true freshman, folks, it's real.
Definitely freshman of the
Real.
year. Definitely
Oh,
freshman
that's
of the
not
year.
even close. He might be
Oh, yeah.
national freshman of the year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. It's a good point.
yeah.
It's a good point.
So,
But, I mean,
but go ahead, Greg.
No, I was just going to say, pitching, Silver didn't have his typical game, but he got us into the sixth or seventh yesterday.
Mhm.
Groover, his hit streak ended yesterday. Unfortunately, I think he was at 24. Just
Darn, that's terrible.
I know, but I think he
Yeah.
reached. So I think he's still
He
like at
did.
27 or 28. So, but yeah, the pitching is just kind of what it is. The defense is still to keep it positive. It's a work in progress. If we
Yes.
want to spin it nicely.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're giving good teams too many outs, and they're capitalizing. And you take away 2 innings, one on Friday, like in the 7th or 8th, and then yesterday again in the 8th when they scored like 8 runs. We sweep that series. So, we when you get a lead, you can't hit a guy and then have an error and then the inning just gets compounded. The next thing you know, you give up a grand slam. You just
Yep.
can't do it. So
Yep.
if we clean up those errors somehow, if we can figure that out, stop giving these guys extra outs and extra runs, we're right
Yep.
there. And who says we can't go sweep the rest of the ACC and still get a 1 seed in the tournament? It's not inconceivable. I mean, it's not.
Nope.
So
Nope. But again, I'm hoping that hopefully out of all this, it just kind of not necessarily humbles state fans, but just as a reminder of like where we are actually? Like, not where do we want to be, but where are we actually? And he goes, when you really look at the guys who make these errors, routinely, most of those guys are the young guys. I mean, obviously JT Jarrett's been a freaking defensive dynamite recently, and
that
then
play yesterday
Devontae
made us
Brown,
great.
Yeah, it was crazy.
right? And then Devontae Brown out in center field's been killing it, out in the outfield. So, but I mean, besides that, you're playing with a bunch of young guys. Also, we're still cycling, the defensive rotation as well, which is a little bit frustrating. But the one thing though, which I did want to bring up, if I was going to give Avent, I don't say crap, it'd be kind of like, ask him like, well, what was the thinking behind this? Was bringing in Villeman in the 5th inning on Saturday, or I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. But like out of nowhere, like it just didn't make sense that he should have come in, honestly, in my opinion, the first game, instead of, I think it was Baker Nelson, whoever it was, to finish out that game. I think we had like 3 innings left. Yeah, because it was the 7th inning when we gave up the 9-run inning.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so why wasn't Villeman there? Because again, if you could win that first game, especially on the road, that puts you in an amazing position for the rest of the series. So I didn't really understand that, but there's a reason.
So it's kind of hard to question a guy that has 950 career wins at state. So
that's true. That's very true. So, but that's why I said,
but as fans,
there's one thing I'm
as
going
fans, that's what we do.
That's right.
Yeah. No, it's what we do it's what we do as fans, and they get paid to make those decisions. Thankfully, I just pay to go watch them. So,
absolutely.
Again, I think again to your point, I think we're going to be a year ahead of schedule depending on what we do in the postseason. Next year, these guys are just going to get better, more recruiting class. These pitchers, we've got some studs coming. I mean, they're like I mentioned, Silver. He's a guy that I didn't see doing what he's doing. I mean, he's 5-0 with like a 3 and some change ERA. And yesterday was by far his worst outing of his starts. So it's gonna happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, even like a Logan Whitaker too. I mean, like I was overall impressed with him too. I mean, besides giving up, his couple at the beginning of the game, he played solidly. I think lasted all the way till that 7th inning, and especially in that tough position of starting off the series against a Louisville team that literally from one end can hit the ball really, really well. So I mean, overall, again, it just impresses me a lot. And I think it says a lot that, again, keep in mind, without Sam Highfill, who undoubtedly is our ace pitcher, we're competitive with Louisville, who I think is definitely going to be a number 1 seed come postseason.
Well, and that's to your point, either Whitaker or Silver slides into the long relief, so if you have Highfield as your Friday starter, so someone's going into the bullpen, and again, that changes your whole dynamics on situations When do you bring these guys in, depending on, time and inning and all that score, all that good stuff. So the Highfield injury is not something to overlook for sure.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Make anything to add on that from the Pac-9 side?
No, I kind of didn't get to watch a ton of all the games this weekend, but I will say I watched particularly the Sunday game, and I think I've seen enough already. I've been really genuinely impressed this season with Kanan Silver. Logan Adams, I thought didn't have his best game, but he's still, I think, trying to get back in the groove after coming back from a few games.
Yep.
I thought JT Jarrett's play was nuts at second base.
Ridiculous.
And I think you're just constantly still getting impressed with Tommy White. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot there. I don't think it's all come together yet. I think when it does for a state, they're going to be really dangerous, which they did last year late. So it's not like what we're going through this year is any different than what it was last year. It's just we got to put it all together, and we can. I was just I tell you, I think these next series we gotta find a way to win them. Like I just feel like we gave away the Louisville series.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been our MO. Like we've given away a lot of games. Like
Yeah.
when you score as many runs as we scored in that series, you should win 75%, which is 2 out of 3 games. There's no reason why we shouldn't have taken 2 out of 3. And you can argue that we should have swept it.
Yep. Well, especially too because the 2 games we lost in the 7th and 8th innings. Like it's not like we lost in the 5th inning or 4th inning, we lost in the 7th and the 8th inning. So, but again, it all just comes down to at the end of the day that we're even with as much as we lost last year, even without playing with Sam Highfield, we're right there still in that hosting conversation, which I think for this team with how young it is and with how much we should have back for next season, on top of the studs that we have coming in as well, that it's really setting up, like you said, for we're kind of 1 year ahead of where we expect or where we should be. So, but again, hey, we still got a great series coming up here. ECU coming up here tomorrow. Then I think we have Wake here this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Week.
So look forward to that as well. So, all right, y'all. Well, I think that's unfortunately all the time we have, but definitely was, again, touched a lot on men's basketball, touched a lot. Again, got to make sure to tune in for that NFL draft here Thursday night, 8 o'clock, I think is what the start time is. And
8 o'clock, i.e. 9 o'clock. I'm just kidding.
I know.
I hate that stuff. It's like, hey, tune in at 8 o'clock. Really, it means we're going to just talk and banter for 30 minutes to an hour before it actually starts.
Well, and not only that, but the first pick who Jacksonville has, they're going to take all 15 minutes and they know who they have. Like, come on, go make your selection. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's one thing. And Major Wolf mentions it, that this is actually one of the few years where it's like, you don't really know yet who Jacksonville's going to take.
I thought about that in the car going to work the other day. I was like, you're right. You just don't.
Cut.
It is a true toss up this year.
And because I want to preface to all fans out there as well that Jacksonville said they have their eye on 4 guys. Now, obviously, Icky is one of those guys, and I'm assuming probably Aiden Hutchinson, the defensive end from Oregon, and probably Neil, the other offensive tackle from Alabama,
one of the offensive linemen,
and Aiden Hutchinson.
People are saying some people are betting it's just between Trayvon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson.
Insane.
I mean,
I've seen that.
I've
seen that too.
Yeah. I think honestly what I think they're doing. I think the Jaguars, if I were to bet right now, I'm betting they're going to pick Ekwani, because there's been a lot of talk about behind the scenes about them wanting to do that. And I think they're just puffing up smoke. People think they're not interested in him.
Here's the other thing.
This is me. I know I'm a NC State guy, but I actually genuinely think that.
The reason I think this. Go
I'm just going to make one sentence and I'll let you talk, Greg. The one thing I'll say is that if you believe in Trevor Lawrence and if you believe that he is the future of your program, you got to protect him. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Defense-wise, don't matter.
They also just drafted. They got James Robinson and they just drafted Travis Etienne too. So they've got 2 stud running backs. Particularly, they just spent a first-round pick on Etienne.
Yeah.
Why don't you invest? And if you really think he's the best run blocker, go get a run blocker.
And the last thing I'll say is they just brought in an offensive-minded head coach with Doug Peterson. So that was kind of where I was thinking was maybe that's why they potentially go offensive lineman and Icky, like you said, because I think they want to run the ball to take the pressure off of Lawrence. If you get that run game going, you make the defense more honest, and that opens up passing lanes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, y'all. So again, should be a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Really appreciate y'all as always. And again, make sure once again hit that subscribe button, which is free to do, and make sure you don't miss out whenever we release new Wednesday content. Give this video a like and all of our other videos a like if you don't mind. So that way YouTube will put this video in front of more NC State fans. And also to give us a follow to Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram if you haven't already. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. And as always,